Ah, there you are again. Coming close. Closer. I once had a kindly bub decide to give me just a bit of advice when I was just a young little lad, just a bit of a scrapper, still a bit wet behind me ears. And he says to me, if you're ever invited to a poker game and you don't know who the sucker is, do you know what, Mike? It's probably you. And so thanks, I says, in return, for the kindly bit of advice. But I still only had just one question. Not being very worthy wise at the time, not quite yet acquainted with all those fancy ways, I had to ask this rather friendly gentleman if he could please, so I might make some better use of this newly acquired information and wisdom, possibly tell me exactly what this poker is. The bugger just threw up his hands in frustration and kind of stormed away. And after that, I don't believe I ever saw him ever quite again. But that's another story for another time. So now that we've been introduced and acquainted again, why don't you come in close now? Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for you to be fooled. For me to fool you. Because what is seeing anyway? You're looking, but what you're really doing is filtering, interpreting, searching for some meaning. My job is to take that most precious gifts that you give to me, your attention, and use it against you. Are you watching closely? Every magic trick has just 3 parts. The first part is called the pledge. Your magician shows you something rather ordinary. A deck of cards, a bird, or a man. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you even to inspect it, to see that it is real, ordinary, perhaps like yourself, very normal. But of course it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes that ordinary something or object and makes it do something really rather quite extraordinary. And you're looking for the secret, but you can't find it. You know why? Because of course you're not really looking, are you? You really don't want to know. You want to be fooled. But you wouldn't clap yet. Because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. And that's why every magic trick has a third act. The part we call the prestige. Did you see it? Let's try it again, mate. Are you watching closely? Pay attention. Are you watching closely? Come in close, closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. We were hit with a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, and months that led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. The U.S. intelligence community had coalesced around only 2 likely scenarios, but had not reached a definitive conclusion on this question. And while 2 elements in IC had leaned toward the former scenario, One leaned more towards the latter, each with very low or moderate confidence. The majority of the elements did not believe that there was sufficient information at the time to assess one to be more likely than the other. However, the most trusted voice in separating fact from fiction, together with many highly qualified vaccinologists and virologists, including a recent paper by 21 internationally renowned virologists and evolutionary biologists from all over the world, if you're impressed by that type of thing, had agreed that the most likely explanation is a natural evolution from an animal reservoir to a human. So, Robin, did you see it? Let's try again. Are you watching closely? Coming close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. What was wrong from the outset when you got yourself invited to a poker game night, baffled by mystery and uncertainty, and all to deal with the story about an emerging virus, brand new, catching your interest? Well, if you happen to know anything at all about viruses, it's like casting your eyes up and looking at all of the wonders in the cosmos, because viruses here on Earth are the most abundant biological particles in the entire world. The entire world. And here's the catch. Do you know, as an inquisitive person, curious about the world around you, exactly how many viruses from all of those potential calamities and ailments are actually harmful to mankind? Or at least were before the pandemic. Would you believe, with all of those possibilities, there were only a total of 219? And rather quite conveniently, a few years before, around 2012, before the COVID-19 pandemic, a professor of introductory biology at the University of Ontario, also Toronto, but of quite some particular prominence, a fellow by the name of Mark Woolhouse, maybe you've heard of him, had taken it upon himself, his duty perhaps as a scientist, to compile an entire inventory of what we then had in stock. Just a total of 219 viruses harmful to mankind from a total of 23 families. Rather a bit quite convenient occurrence, just right before we descended into the black swan event of evolving science, don't you think? So old, Robin. Did you see it? Let's try it again. Are you watching closely? Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Here's another thing. Did you know that highly contagious diseases may be rather quite common in the flicks and on the telly, but in actuality, dare say reality, not your dreams, highly contagious diseases are actually rather very rare. But even far more intriguing is the clinically established fact that a highly contagious disease is a prerequisite, sine qua non, ingredient in condition precedent, as they say, for a super spreader event to even occur. And certainly in the pandemic, we had more than our share of those. However, if you have no highly contagious disease, then you can have no super spreader event. Like love and marriage together, going like a horse and carriage. You can't just simply have one without the other. Ask your local gentry, and he will say it's rather elementary. So, What happened, mate? Did you see it? Let's try it again. Are you watching closely? Come in close. Little closer. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. However, if you want to go to court, as some people do, you cannot just present conclusory allegations. The judge will expect you to be able to, sometimes with painstaking specifics and particularity, to substantiate the basis of your claims with at least a preponderance, as I say, of evidence, more than an iota, if not clear and convincing evidence. Only beyond a reasonable doubt if you happen to go to criminal court. While you may be able to fool your friends and family with your seeming knowledge and expertise, wisdom, you cannot reasonably expect to prevail in a courtroom with dimly perceived and faintly articulated claims, maybe even rather bizarre conspiracy theories. They would laugh you right out of court, maybe impose sanctions against you. And when you, especially as a layman, not really an expert, use a phrase like highly contagious, a judge might actually expect you to define that in quantifiable terms and explain exactly what you mean. Could you do that? I ask because most people can't. And you might put them into an instant fright by just saying the words highly contagious disease. Watch them run away and be done. Kill one, scare 1,000, Sun Tzu said, 1500 BC. So what happened? Did you see it? Let's try it again. Are you watching closely? Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Did you know that actually, at least to a clinician, a doctor, a scientist, this common phrase is generally tied to just a cozy pair of transmissibility metrics, and positivity is not one of them. Neither is or not reproductive number. And these will quantifiably enable you to assess the capabilities of this particular virus as a contagion, an infectious disease. Those terms are infectious dose, or the exact quantum of particles that are required to infect a living organism, which would seem to make some common sense. And also the secondary attack rate, or the exact percentage of trace contacts that a particular infected person had managed to infect once he or she had become exposed and infected, of course. If the disease requires more than 15 particles, just 15 particles, it is not a highly contagious disease at all. And if an infected person does not infect at least 60% of the people with whom he or she comes into close contact, it is not a highly contagious disease. And so, if none of these conditions are present, then one could not plausibly have a super spreader event at all, or conclude that there was a highly contagious disease at all. So what happened? Did you see it? Let's try it one more time. Are you watching? Do I have your attention? Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. And you look like an intelligent person. Because here is the kicker. There is what is called inductive reasoning and what is called deductive reasoning, which you Well, learn if you took a course in logical philosophy. And even Sherlock Holmes, you see at the terms confused, perhaps because they sound just a bit alike. In inductive reasoning, you proceed logically from a particular observation, like systematically gathering individual clues to derive a conclusion, a general conclusion, while deduction works quite the opposite, moving from the general and broad proposition, like highly contagious diseases and pandemics, and then trying to go from the general down to a particular case, applying that template or overlay, like deciding that because you had a pandemic and the person got sick, therefore the person had to have caught a highly contagious disease, working kind of like a prejudice. Sounds copacetic though, doesn't it? Sure. What of them? Did you see it? Let's try just one more time. Or you're watching closely. Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. What if I were to tell you a little secret? That more than 6 years after the pandemic declaration, more than 3 years after the end of the pandemic, would you believe that with all of the doctors and scientists working on this problem, all of the persons who have been infected, hospitalized, or even died, all the persons who have been vaccinated, not even one of those basic scientific metrics is yet known? Nobody knows the actual chance you have to get infected with this dreadful disease, based upon the observation of persons who have submitted their data or tracer contacts. And even though science has been able to conduct the how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop test since 1870, even more readily capable of doing so, while also safely avoiding human challenge studies inoculating persons with live wild virus, because science can today perform the very same function with E6 viral cells, which you should know by now. Just like the origins of this virus, or even the exact location of this lab from which some say this virus had escaped. Those very basic scientific metrics, even today, remain rather oddly still unknown. And if you didn't notice that, then maybe you weren't really looking at all, were you? Maybe prepared to be astounded and amazed like in a magic show. You didn't really even want to know. But you should have heard 3 or 4 short, shrill whistles, one right after the other. Just as all knew or should have known that the blasts are not made without reason. You should have noticed something, or perhaps you are really not quite a magician after all. Perhaps you really want to be fooled, but you wouldn't clap just yet, because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to be able to bring it back. And that's why every magic trick has the third act, the part we call the prestige.
And unfortunately, he didn't make it. And so now, the war is over. I got out of Hotel Saigon. I made my way to your house. And now, son, I'm giving that war watch to you.
We did all we could do. He just didn't make it. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest. Honest.